It's there you go.
Hi, neighbors. I'm in the garage doing a live chat tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll wait for you guys to hop on here. And I have some very special guests hanging out with me in the garage. I have President Miguel Gonzalez of the Orange City Firefighters. Miguel, give a wave. Hi out there in Instagram land. And I also have Katey Sullivan, who is a wonderful firefighter and paramedic with our Orange Fire Department. And so, very interesting. While we're sitting here, all of a sudden we hear fire sirens and helicopter going off over my house. It was a little loud. We had to wait. Katey, were you going to check and see what was going on out there?
I was trying to see. I think it was just a AFA commercial. Well, there had to have been more because of the helicopter. I don't want to look at my phone.
I'm gonna look up. Anyway, I know we've had a lot of you messaged me because of all the crime stuff that we've had going on in the last couple of days. For example, we had the helicopter a couple of days ago that was going off and caught the guy that had the stolen car. Anyway, I feel like we've had a weird uptick in crime. I know this isn't fire related, but yeah, I have a lot of questions about that because it seems like in the last, especially month, I've heard that during election time, people get a little nuts. So we do see an uptick in crime, but I keep hearing fire sirens all the time in the last couple of weeks. So I don't know. We got to get into this, but I'm just curious. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think we can touch on that as we go along. I think, I think that.
Yeah, they're probably more medical related, but we pair up a lot with PD. So it could be crime or it could be medical, and you're going to see both of us.
Yeah.
See both of you. Okay, well, let's get into all these questions, right? First things first. So we're going to get into all the hard questions, which I saw you guys raging out on some of my posts today. And believe you me, I've written all those questions down and we're going to get into all that. But first, I want to start off by getting to know our wonderful firefighters a little bit. So Miguel and I were actually supposed to do this live last week, and he actually went out to Florida to go help with the hurricanes and all that. So maybe Miguel, tell us a little bit about yourself and then talk about that.
A little bit about myself, huh? How far back do you want me to go?
Well, just this morning, what'd you have for breakfast?
Just this morning for breakfast, a protein shake and some almonds. So if I pass out,
Hopefully that's not all he's had today.
Yeah. No, a little bit about myself. So name's Miguel Gonzalez. I'm a fire captain over at Fire Station 4 on C shift. I've been with the Orange City Fire Department for about 12 years. I was born in Long Beach, California, and grew up in Compton. Thought I was going to be a computer science major as I was growing up, and decided to do a complete 180 and join the fire service. Before that, I joined the military, so I did 4 years in the Navy. And I got out, and 3 years later, I got hired on with the Orange City Fire Department, and I've been there ever since.
And how many years is that now?
Going on 13 years now.
Whoa, 13 years. Okay. And I've met your beautiful wife, your family man.
Yeah.
And he has a very sweet, very beautiful wife.
Yeah. Shout out to, I'm not a social media person, but a shout out to my wife, Raquel, and my daughters, Elisa and Estella. So if they're out there watching me.
Your daughters are probably social media people. Okay, Katey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Arizona. And so I grew up in Scottsdale. I was introduced to the fire service in high school, and I went home one day and said I want to be a firefighter, and my parents were completely taken back because we don't have anyone in the fire service in our family. My dad owned, at the time, he's now retired, but owned an asphalt paving company, and my mom was a nurse. And so fast forward, they encouraged me to get a degree. So I did get a degree in business, marketing, and management. Decided later in life that I still wanted to go through with it. So went back to school, and then did everything I needed to do in Phoenix, and then applied for actually the City of Orange Fire, which was the only reason I did is because actually there was a neighbor in college, one dorm over. She was actually from Orange. So we actually came to the street fair. So to touch on all of that, I actually came to the street fair once. And then when I was applying for jobs, the City of Orange popped up, and I remembered the street fair in Old Town Orange. And so I applied for it, eventually got hired. And that was about 10 years ago now, almost. So
wow.
I moved out here about 2 days before the academy started, and I've been here ever since.
Oh,
So-
look, somebody's on here. She's my hero. I am Emily Sullivan.
Oh my gosh, that's
Is
my
that your?
sister. That's my
Oh,
sister.
that's so cute.
So I do have one sister, obviously right there, and my
Mhm.
parents live in Arizona still. And then I'm married. Fun fact: my wife's name is Katey, also.
Katie squared.
Yeah, and we are fostering a baby right now, so I won't touch on that just because I can't really. But yeah. So I've been here almost 10 years. And Miguel was my captain last year for a while, so that was a ton of fun. But yeah, I took the position and I thought if it wasn't great, I could always go back, and I don't think I would ever work for another department. So we are so fortunate.
Aw.
I think we could touch on that and just make a podcast about that or a video about that. But
About
yeah.
how awesome you guys are.
about how
How
awesome our
awesome.
department is.
Yeah.
Our department, our staff, the support, honestly. So
I've
we're
spent
very-
a lot of time with you guys because I love you guys and love knowing what's going on in our city. And so I stop in and visit every once in a while. And I also did Leadership Orange, where we got to get really close with our fire department and police department and learn about all the things that you guys do on a regular basis. And I honestly, I have a hard time talking about it, or I cry because it's so emotional what you guys go through all the time. And just all the things that you guys see on a regular basis, which it's just, I know, especially we've had a lot lately with the mom that passed away in the DUI accident on Tustin and Collins. And, it's you guys that are responding to those calls, the paramedics and the fire department. You guys see a lot of crazy stuff that, thank you so, so much. Thank you,
Thank you, and thank the city of Orange for their support. I think everyone supports us. We always get shout outs and highs wherever we're at, and I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say we're proud to serve the city of Orange.
Definitely.
Awesome. Okay. So we got, I think it's Giggity Getty said, I remember when I was an explorer and I did a ride along at Fire Station 1. Miguel was
Uh-oh.
super nice to me and very helpful. Glad to see he's still serving Orange. That's so cool.
That's awesome.
You
Yeah,
got
it's good
fan
to
club.
hear. Yeah, I was at our headquarters station, Station 1, for most of our career, and some of that is working with explorers a couple Thursdays a month. So
Oh, cool. Okay, you guys want to get into okay, let's ask this. So what does it mean? We hear all the time like, hey, why don't we switch to a OC Fire Authority? What does it mean? How long has Orange City Fire been around? How long have we had our own fire department? And what does it mean to have our own fire department?
I think the biggest difference, because we wear that a lot, we'll see Orange City firefighters or fire department on our shirts, and then people will confuse us a lot with Orange County. And I think the biggest thing for people to understand is that Orange County Fire Authority services every city in Orange County their city doesn't have their own department. So us, Anaheim, Newport, Huntington, and so forth, they all have their own. So the city of Orange is fortunate to have their own fire department and their own police department. That goes hand in hand because we would move to sheriffs if we gave that up as well. So, and they're a fantastic department. The city of Orange, though, I think there's something to be said, at least for us, and we love working here, just for the sheer fact that it is a smaller department and the camaraderie and the truth that we could honestly call our fire chief right now or any of our chiefs, and they would answer and say, "What's up? What do you need?" And I don't feel like you get that everywhere. So for us as members, that is definitely something that is nice to have. And OCFA versus OCFA. And I think for the citizens, you could possibly call 911 if you were frequently calling 911 for some reason. You could have the same crew that comes to your house. You could feel, amongst us and amongst crews, you can feel that bond that we have because we do know everybody that's in the fire station that we're working with versus maybe a larger department. So I don't think that, as it comes to structure of the department, we're all going to have captains and chiefs and firefighters and engineers. That's going to be the fire service no matter where you are. But the biggest thing for us are just the people that we work with and the support that we get from our staff and from the city, honestly, and then from the citizens, to be able to have a smaller department to support this city.
You know what I love? Okay, so I'm driving on the street sometimes and I see like the fire truck going by. And I'm like, hey, I know that. There's Gage right there. And I can wave and he's honking and I know him, right? And he
Yeah.
knows me.
Yeah.
And, I'm the crazy Karen. So a lot of times I pull up somewhere and the fire department's there and, I can ask them, hey, what's going on here, guys? And they're very open and talking with us. Or, hey, do you guys know what happened last week? Somebody was asking me about a helicopter going over their house. Something happened. What happened? And you guys all know, right? It is, I do feel like we're very fortunate. It's not like we're having someone that was serving in Mission Viejo yesterday and now they're serving in Fullerton and, putting in their hours. That you guys are really invested in our community, which I love. And I see you guys around town all the time, right?
Yeah.
A lot of you live here. All right, let's get into
Want me to touch on that one? So
Yeah,
so as
definitely.
an Orange City Fire Department, we've been around since 1905.
In 1905. Yeah.
Wow.
We've grown to have 8 fire stations strategically placed throughout the city.
Mhm.
We run approximately 19,000 calls a year.
Wow.
And we're no longer just a fire department. Back in the days, of course, we were just a fire department.
Mhm.
But then we became what's called the all risks department. So we do everything. So you call 911, you will get either police or us there, and we will make your problem go away. So
Yeah.
we do everything. We're one
We
stop
do.
shop.
I mean, from help ups to when if there is some sort of call where PD's involved, if there's any sort of weapons involved, we rely on them because they always clear the scene before we go in. So they make sure it's safe before we go in and do what we have to do. And it could be from a domestic type call to something more serious. And then it could be a fire, any sort of medical aid that you could think of, to any sort of gas leak or hazmat or anything. And we go on all those calls. And so I think that's one of the biggest questions that people always ask is, why isn't it when I call 911 for chest pain that I'm getting, a fire truck, maybe a fire engine, an ambulance, and all these rigs? And they don't realize that we have EMTs, paramedics. Every single one of us is qualified to be one or the other. And so
Wow.
it's that's kind of why you're getting everybody when you call.
Full service
Full
city,
service.
just like Tom
Yeah.
Casello always says, we're a
Well,
full service
is.
city.
Yeah, you
if
have
you
to
think
be.
about it, we are the last line of defense. You're not going to call the military to make the problem go away. We're not going to call the National Guard to make the problem go away.
No.
Like if police and fire can't make the problem go away, then we're in a world of hurt here.
Yeah.
We're in a world of hurt. And it seems like we've had a lot of stuff going on lately. Okay, let's see. We got a comment on here. Miguel and Katey are outstanding firefighters and even better people. The entire department is incredible. With appreciation, thank you from your brother in Public
I was
Works.
gonna say, shout out to Public Works.
Got
Jeez.
Public Works in here. Okay, so you mentioned that you guys had 19,000 calls last year. Let's get into a little bit of that.
Mhm.
What do you see the majority of the calls are what?
So about 90% of what we do is EMS, which is medical. And the rest, you would think that over time, the amount of fires that we go on has gone down, but it actually has stayed about the same.
Oh.
So the amount of fires that we go on has stayed about the same. What has shot through the roof is the amount of medical calls we go on. But other than those are our 2 biggies. And other than that, would you just sprinkle in everything else? And maybe Katey
Yeah.
can touch on.
Heavy rescues, like having to cut people out of their cars for car accidents, like what happened last week, yeah, I mean, like we said, we do just about everything. So it is majority going to be medical aid. The health, everything that's going on, from an allergic reaction to someone breaking their arm to someone having a heart attack. It's honestly a little bit of everything. But yeah, then fires. And we pair up with all the surrounding cities to make sure that we offer the best service to everybody. It's whoever's closest. So when it comes to serious calls, we just don't only pull the city of Orange. So that's why it's so important that we have surrounding departments like we do. And we train with them and we make sure that we're all on the same level for everything. And so it's in order to offer the best service to the citizens is really what we try and do.
So what does that look like? So I get comments on here all the time about, look how much, just to touch on this hot topic, we have so much overtime and, our firefighters, we recently had, was it 25 firefighters spread out throughout the fires going on in Southern California. So a lot of times when people are looking at like, oh, our firefighters are making $200,000 a year. And look at all the overtime they have. Can you explain a little bit about that overtime and how it's paid?
Yeah.
So I'll touch.
Go ahead, and then I'll do
Yeah.
my 2 things.
Yeah. So on the overtime. So overtime is built into our budget, and it is either voluntarily worked or it's forced. So we have what's called constant staffing here in the city of Orange. Constant staffing means that your fire station will be open 24/7. And when it comes to serious calls, seconds and minutes make all the difference in the world. So our goal is always to provide the best service to the residents and not to delay turnout times. So yeah, because of that, the overtime will go up. But there is another side to that. There's a human side of it. For those folks that complain about the overtime budget, they don't know that some of these firefighters haven't seen their families for 2 weeks. That they are missing birthdays and child's births and
Oh,
everything
God.
else that goes. So, yeah,
There's
it's
2 sides
complicated.
to it,
Yeah,
for sure.
So,
And of
did
that
that answer your
overtime,
question?
Well, yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna. So there's,
Mhm.
I think, because a lot of people make the comments like you made. Oh, they make $200,000 or whatever. Transparent California is a very accessible website, and that website does include in our salary everything to our dental, our health insurance, anything that we contribute to our pension. And so I think a lot of times people don't take into consideration that if you did that for any job, sure, it's going to look like you're walking away with a lot more money than you are. But we know, I mean, I'm not walking away with that much money. And
that
I
happened
can,
to my husband too, working at Apple.
Yeah.
Like they count all those benefits. Like in
Yes.
reality, he made $80,000 a year, but with the amount of insurance, oh, sorry, don't say that. Don't say that.
yeah. And, well, with everything included, it is going to look like a lot more. And then,
I will tell you this though. It's an open market, right? For firefighters. We're competing for the same firefighters that the Orange County Fire Authority is competing with for the Newport Beach Fire Department, Anaheim, all of our neighboring agencies. We've got maybe to 11 to 13 agencies within our county. So we have to pay, or we should pay, at least median so that we can attract and retain the best firefighters. Like you said, and you tell me who you want to come to your house when you call 911. Do you want that person that got a C that was willing to kind of settle for less pay? Or do you want the person that was that heavy hitter that was the top of their class? And in the city of Orange, our firefighters get paid median compared to all the firefighters in the county. So we are not the highest paid, but we are not the lowest paid either. And that's just so that we can attract and retain
Be
good
competitive.
candidates.
Yeah.
And we rely on just paying median, but via the leadership of our command staff and working with the associations, our working conditions and our leadership is what I think attracts good firefighters.
It's true.
that is. And I think to go touch more on his constant staffing, nobody wants a station to be browned out or blacked out. And they don't want the next closest station. We have standards within our department when we're contacted by dispatch, what the time frame is, how long we have to actually acknowledge and respond, how long we need to be on scene before a fire, for a medical aid and whatnot. We have standards within our department, and that's in order to give the best service to the citizens. And if we were to not have stations, we
Mhm.
would have to double those times or more. And that's definitely not providing the best service. So there is a price to be paid, I guess you should say, but we're very grateful. And by no means will we ever say we're not grateful to have the jobs that we have. We've worked really hard to get where we are. But I do think a lot of times you talk to people about the calls we went on, like you said, or working holidays. Somebody has to work on Christmas and New Year's and all those different things. So
Yeah.
we have to be there. Sometimes we have to miss things with our family. Sometimes we have to work extra, whether we want to or not. And then you're being compensated for it. So, but
I'm sure, especially 4th of July. Holy moly.
that is a busy night. That is for sure.
Okay, let me see. So we got Uncle Daddy on here. He's been real. He's been yes, very vocal on my page as of today.
Uncle
So,
Daddy.
he said fire and police deserve every penny they get. I 1,000% agree. And then we got B-Jam, firefighters on wildfires or deployed on hurricanes have overtime reimbursement by the state and the federal government. It includes paying for a firefighter at a station that is covering
Correct.
high overtime costs, but the city is reimbursed. And I was told you guys are also reimbursed for the admin time that goes into that as well. So the city actually makes a little bit of money in lieu of that overtime. But on Transparent California, it would still account for all of those funds, even if it's being reimbursed by the state and the government.
Correct. So on Transparent California, you see our pay. But when we go on these deployments, these 1 to 3 week deployments, depending on how long you're gone, the city is made neutral. So the city is reimbursed by either the state or the federal government. And on top of that, the city makes money because they make about a 20, it's called an admin fee. So the city charges the state 20% on top of their cost.
Whoa.
Which, I mean, I think I am very grateful for the opportunity to go out on these wildland deployments, because you can go out and learn and gain experience out there. So then you bring that experience back home and provide a better service to our residents, and it's a win-win. So the firefighters gain more experience and the city makes a little bit of money on top of that. And
so not necessarily being paid. Okay, I want to get into some of our calls. So compared to in 2022 compared to 2023, do we have more calls in 2023 compared to 2022?
So it's about 10%.
Yeah, so about on average, our call volume goes up 10%
a year.
Yeah.
That seems kind of crazy. It's not like our population isn't growing 10% a year.
It's kind of like what he was talking about, though. I mean, we have more people having medical issues.
Yeah.
You know, the fires and car accidents and whatnot are going to happen, but a lot of medical issues.
Yeah. Well, I want to say the last time I ran numbers, I think our call volume has gone up at least 50% within the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And the amount of firefighters that we have on duty per day has actually gone down. So we have 4 less firefighters on duty a day than we did 20 years ago.
Really?
We're running 50% calls.
Why is that? Another helicopter going over. Sorry. What's with these helicopters?
You know what? Maybe the economy.
So,
it's just there's a lot that goes into play with that. I don't think
so. Back when the Great Recession happened, the city came to us for some assistance, and they decided
in
2008, around 2008 to 2012 timeframe, they asked us to freeze 12 firefighter positions, and we froze those positions with the agreement that we would rehire and refill those spots when, in the future, when things were a little bit better financially. Well,
when did the future come? Did it ever come?
We're still looking into the future.
The future did not come, and we're still running 4 short a day over 3 shifts, so 12 short total.
12 short total. Oof. Okay. I got a lot of questions. Where do you guys want to go first? You want to go the fireworks measure? You want to go straight
let's go your least controversial.
Least controversial. First. Okay. You guys know that I have remained neutral on the fireworks because I posted a video early on. City Council had presented adding a fireworks measure to the ballot to make safe and sane fireworks legal in the city of Orange. And the way that it was presented seemed like a great idea. So I made a positive video. Well, man, the backlash I got for that. And a lot of light was shed on the whole topic. So one, I want to know, where do the firefighters stand on having safe and sane fireworks in Orange?
So first, let me clarify that we're here on behalf of the Orange City Firefighters, which is our labor union, our association. So we are not speaking on behalf of the fire department. We're speaking on behalf of the association. That being said, I think we're all aware that in Orange, we are surrounded by cities that do sell fireworks. So if you want to access fireworks, you can visit any of these neighboring cities and purchase those fireworks and bring them back into Orange. There is going to be very little control over that on our end. And therefore, you have seen the association take a neutral stance, and we will just allow the residents to vote however they want. They can choose if they want or don't want fireworks. I will tell you that we will be here. If there's an uptick in fires, we'll be here for that. And we're here to serve. We're here to run calls and do our best.
Wow, that's very interesting. I'm sure you guys are going to have a lot to say about this because I know this is a hot topic. My only concern is which I guess one leads into the next, right? If Measure Z does not pass, which I see a lot of, it's very all over the place. If Measure Z doesn't pass and fireworks do pass, that makes me a little bit nervous because I know we will have to have cuts to public safety. And what does that look like if all of a sudden we have fireworks and we're having cuts to the fire department?
I mean, I wouldn't want to jump to those conclusions. I don't know if one will cause the other one to go up, and only time will tell. And like I said, those people are having or not having an ordinance is not going to keep people that want access to fireworks from gaining access to fireworks.
Yeah.
It's very hard for our police department to even find out who's using fireworks when it's such a quick action, right? They respond to a neighbor or to a street because they're getting word that somebody's using them. By the time they get there, can they enforce anything or not? It's really hard to enforce that. So, I think everybody tries the best they can, and
I've had
you
a lot
really
of
rely
people
on
say
people
on
just to
here.
be safe.
Yeah, they can't. So unless just so you guys know out there in Instagram land, if Instagram land, a police officer can't give someone a ticket unless they literally see you holding the firework in your hand with the lighter and igniting the firework. Even if I've had people say I have videos of people doing it and they can't enforce it in any way. And I'm not sure the exact number, but Mayor Slater mentioned when they were adding this to the ballot that we spent $40,000 last year trying to enforce no fireworks in Orange, and it's almost impossible. So it cost the city a lot of money, one. I also recently spoke with TNT. The fireworks folks reached out to me to give me a little bit more information. And so the booths that we would have selling in Orange would be, I think, a portion of that. It was said that 7%, there's like a fee in there. 7% of that goes to the fire department. And then also the nonprofit booths that run them also make a portion of it. So I know Love Orange is excited at the possibility of having a booth for that. And I guess the nonprofits make 15 to 20,000. So who knows? You may see me out there in a firework booth trying to raise money for treats in the streets next year if they don't bring it back. But the only thing that would make me nervous is we do have a lot of historic homes in Old Town, and yeah, I'm nervous about those wooden homes, and then also in Orange Park Acres and fire zones. So I think the city, if it does pass, city council then has to go back and decide, okay, these are the areas where you can have fireworks and these areas you're not, and they have to kind of lay that out. Is that right? How does that work?
I don't know.
I don't know
can't
how
touch
that
on
works. I know that we go on calls around the 4th of July all the time for people that probably still use them safely but dispose of them incorrectly. Or
I've heard
we've had people's trash cans next to their homes that have caught on fire and have gone up through the eaves. We've had people shoot off fireworks that's been caught in the roof line. So it's all about just, even if you are safe, even if you are allowed to use them, it doesn't necessarily mean that something can't happen. It doesn't mean that you don't shoot one off near a open field that has grass and you don't catch a few homes. You know what I mean? You just have to be careful. So regardless, like Miguel said, there's only so much we can do to regulate. Even if there is an ordinance, people still need to be safe, and whether we sell them or not, they're gonna find them somehow.
Happen.
So
I know
I don't know if
ordinance or not. When you come down to the numbers, or you break it down, Orange is about 25 square miles, and if you divide that by our 8 stations, that's about 3 miles per station that we cover. It would be impossible for us to patrol and make sure that people aren't lighting off fireworks in a 3-mile radius from each station.
It's impossible. Okay, let's see. We got, Council Member Demetru chiming in here. Fireworks will still be completely banned east of Hughes. Okay, that's great to know. And we had one more. Why didn't they attach the fire safety to the fireworks bill? I don't know. I can't answer that. Dimitri, you're on here. I'm not sure that they could do that. Okay, let's answer a couple more questions. Will you scroll up? Let's see. Are those, she is speaking of safe and sane. Yes, they are safe and sane fireworks only. So of course, anything shooting off into the air will absolutely still be illegal. The illegal fireworks will be everywhere, just like always. I know this is the problem, is that they are everywhere. It's very difficult to enforce, impossible. Pasadena has a microphone system set up where they can precisely pinpoint where the gunshot goes off. Maybe the same could be done with fireworks. Guess what? That sounds like it would take money, and we're broke.
That might be more than 0.5%.
All these things that we want, we don't have money
Yeah.
for. The little fireworks stand fireworks don't last long enough to burn a match. It is true. We do have the little fountains and stuff, but I mean, we get out there with the sparklers and the babies and stuff. We always go to my mom's, which I have to say, last time I said it was Tustin. It's not. It's an unincorporated area of Santa Ana, technically. So fireworks are legal. I got a lot of slack for that. Okay, let's see.
Whistling kitty chasers.
What's a Husker don't? I don't know what that is.
It's a Joe Dirt reference.
Oh, we got a Joe Dirt. No whistling kitty chasers. No
Husker Do's, Husker Do's.
Husker
Do's,
do's, Husker
Husker
don'ts. Separate issues, but they there is 7% of gross is used for enforcement by the fire department. Okay, well that's interesting and good to know. And I know it has to be a lot of money if the nonprofits are benefiting. I was told $15,000 to $20,000 per nonprofit booth. I don't know how many booths we would have around the city, but it's got to be a lot of money in fireworks. So I know everybody. I mean, they're legal in Villa Park, right?
That's because that's unincorporated. Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody's going to Villa Park and just lighting them off here, probably, and
Yeah.
they're making all the money.
I think, there's only so much that can be said. You can offer safety and teach people how to dispose of them correctly. The fire department can put out videos on how to do that. But again, like I said, the safety of where you're shooting them off or where you're using them, even if you have sparklers, keeping yourself away from the brush and whatnot and just disposing them of correctly is going to be
Key.
I'd hate to say common sense, but yeah, it happens and mistakes are made and we're all humans. So we have to just be careful and realize that things can happen, I think.
So stay tuned. If it does pass, I'll be doing a fireworks safety video with the fire department because a lot of folks don't know, like, hey, keep a bucket of water nearby, right? To throw things in. Okay. Who educates on fireworks safety?
So that would be our prevention staff.
Mhm.
I wish I could tell you more about what they do, but they're a separate part of our fire department, and I don't want to speak on their behalf.
Yeah, part of our union. So our union's divided. We do have fire suppression, which is the firefighters that you see out on the streets, and then we have fire prevention, who is essentially making sure that all of our buildings, commercial, residential, everything is safe within the city and keeping up to the laws and regulations that they have. So they would be the ones that we could, so when we make our video, we can have them help us.
Awesome. And I want to say too, the fire department has been they've been so supportive and incredible with helping with treats in the streets. We have some booths going up, and so they check all of that, and they are an amazing resource. We have bounce houses that are going to be incredible. They inspect all of those. They're having me spray the balloon arch also with fire retardant. So they're very thorough, and you guys have been wonderful to work with and so accessible all the time. I love that you can call down to our city hall and a real person answers the phone, and call the fire department. Real person answers the phone and will have answers for me. Okay, let's see. So they're redundant to the planning and building department. Oh, I don't know what that's for, Tom. What?
Oh, they're saying fire prevention is redundant to the planning, and so they're more of a fire prevention, not like it's different. I don't know if I can.
I think it would be best for us not to.
I don't
on
know if
that
I can.
because
Who
that's not our
knows if they've done
specialty.
it?
But I will
Yeah.
tell you that our prevention staff rocks, and they're true professionals. They really care about making sure
city.
that we don't find ourselves in the positions that we find ourselves, right? But Katey and I are on the suppression side of things, on the operation side of things. So, our prevention staff works their best to try to prevent things and emergencies and accidents from happening. But if they do happen, that's where Katey and I step in.
Step in.
Mhm.
Oh, I have a random question. What was this person saying? Just don't fill the balloons with hydrogen gas. Okay, good idea. um, so in regards to Orange Park Acres, I don't know if you guys can speak to this at all. A lot of folks are worried about that area and how it's a fire zone, and that if we are building houses in a fire zone, that could be risky. But then I've also heard people say it's actually the opposite. You build houses, it's less of a fire zone. Do you know anything about that?
No, it
No.
would be the wrong thing for me to do is to touch on something I'm uneducated about, and
Yeah.
I feel like it would be best for me not to even touch that topic.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'll get back with answers on that because I've been asked that and I'm curious
Yeah.
about that too.
That would be a
Um,
good question for our fire prevention staff because
Yeah.
they deal with all the planning and everything that goes into making sure that the areas are fire safe.
Or
Mhm.
fire safe. Okay. Well, dum the topic everybody's been waiting for, besides fireworks, of course.
Mhm.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about so I saw at a city council meeting, Chief Dimitropoulos had mentioned, we were looking at doing a hiring freeze in the city with staff and police and also the fire department. So we currently have 5 vacancies open with the fire department, and he said we were okay to hold and to not fill those until, you know, the city either had a tax that didn't pass or we were able to look at that again. Are you guys okay not filling those 5 positions
Yeah.
that are
So
currently vacant?
I think there's so when they say that they're okay with 5 vacant positions,
Yeah.
that's us not hiring for those positions. That's
Mhm.
us not filling those positions on a daily basis. So those positions are vacant. They don't belong to an employee, but they are being filled on a daily basis.
Yeah, they're being staffed.
So that
Oh,
we don't
really?
yeah, so that we don't break our constant staffing. Because the last thing you want to do is have your nearest fire station shut down because of a vacant spot. But what that does is that's a cost savings to the city because it's cheaper for the city to pay a firefighter to voluntarily work or force them to work and pay them overtime than it is to hire a brand new employee and pay them their whole benefit package. So it is a cost
Oh.
savings to the city, but when you hear the 5 vacancies, that's not us shutting down your fire stations.
So you guys are all
We're
just
just
making up for that.
staffing.
Wow.
Yeah, which is it's hard. I mean, you throw in wildland season on top of that. We have
We've-
people that are hurt all
yeah.
the time, and so I mean, it has been taxing on the troops.
Our if you think about a job or somebody that works at a desk and they were to be out and throw their back out or you know, tear an ACL or even as simple as like breaking a pinky for some reason, you can still do your job. But for us, if you have anything like that, you can't do your job. And so somebody has to fill that spot for you. And so, we do everything we can to prevent injuries and to prevent things like that. But we do have some people that are out on injury, and then we have vacancies. And then on top of that, we still have to help the state and help our surrounding cities. And then we do have people that are on the FEMA task force. So you do fill all those
Oh,
positions.
wow.
And that's why Miguel was gone. And we had seven of the guys that were gone for that. And we have to backfill for those. So kind of like Miguel said, an example, and this is just a personal example, that last week there were 2 extra shifts that I had to be forced to fill
Oh.
spots. So you think of it being, we love being here, we love our jobs, but I was here at work 5 out of 6 days.
Wow. How
So
long
if
are
you-
you on call? Like when you're at the
Well,
station?
it's a full 24.
Mhm.
We work a full 48-hour shift as our normal shift. So
Whoa.
you do your 48 hours, we have to fill spots. So you fill those spots. So 5 out of 6 days, I was here last week. And that's an extra 3 days a week that you might have to be away from your family, but that's just what we do. That's what we have to do. So
Yeah,
again,
we
there's a-
buckled down for the summer, and we know that it's a part of this career and this profession. You have to be okay with that. But on average, if there is no extra work, if there's no overtime or force hires, yeah, on average, our folks are working a 56-hour work week. So
You know what was weird too is that I always hear the police department always joking, oh, the firefighters are in there taking a nap. I've been to visit you guys. I mean, it just seems like you get back from a call and you're going out on another call, and it is constantly for something paramedic related, right? So by the time you're getting back or taking that person to the hospital,
Yeah.
you get back to the station, you're there for 15 minutes. Okay, I had breakfast with the firefighters one day. I've never seen people eat so fast in my life. I'm looking around like I'm still eating my biscuit. Why is everybody eating so fast? I'm like, oh, we might
It's
get a call. We're
definitely,
used
yeah,
to it.
you definitely are afraid. I mean, on average, a medical aid might take an hour, give or take, depending on how serious it is, what hospital you have to go to, depending on what it is. So, yeah, if you think that we're running an average, maybe 6 to 10, some of our engines are even busier. Some of our ambulances are busier. In a 24-hour period.
On top of that, you throw in, I mean, the day will fill up really quickly before you know it, your day's over. But like Katey was saying, say your average station runs 6 calls. That's about 6 hours in turnaround time. On top of that, you throw 2 hours of training just to make sure that you have company training. On top of that, you have to make sure all the paramedics are on top of their stuff, maintenance of equipment and tools, maintenance of the station. So you start stacking all that stuff in there. And before you know it, you're our station 5. And our station 5 runs about on average 15 calls to 20 calls a day. If
15
every call,
to 20 calls a day?
yeah, so if every call is taking about an hour, you're talking about some of these folks barely.
Yeah, they're
barely
one of
get-
our busiest for
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
They're over by
Yeah,
the
our
Ralph
station 5 and our
over on-
station 6 are busiest
Yeah.
stations.
And so it does. It ends up adding up very quickly. And that's one of the things that we can't, we have to do training. We have to stay on top of everything. So when we do have some people in training on our monthly training that we do as a department or with surrounding cities, we have everyone else kind of covering those areas as well. So then, it's a little bit busier for everybody while you're doing it, but that's so that everyone can get in there and get it done. Because our biggest fear is complacency, and our department's really good about having us all stay on top of that and learning. So
Yeah. I
It's
mean, you
literally
take
the
someone like
difference
Katey,
between life
right?
and death.
So Katey
is.
is not only a firefighter, she's also a paramedic. She's also a rescue specialist and a part of the FEMA team. So she has to be good at swiftwater rescue, rope rescue, all trench rescues, confined space rescues. So Katey is a jack of all trades. She has to be ready for everything. And that takes time to prepare, right? You have to fine tune those skills and hone those skills. And so,
Which
yeah.
is so weird to think about because I just don't think about our city that way, right? And it's so I'm a totally naive over here. I
Yeah.
didn't realize fire department is paramedic, right? How
It
silly
is.
is that? I just thought paramedic is paramedic and fire department's fire department. But
Yeah.
it's not. The fire department is going out. It's paramedic. If somebody has like my nephew, actually he has a severe dairy allergy. He can't even touch dairy. When my babies had yogurt and touched him and he was breaking out into hives and he will go into anaphylactic shock. So I called, you guys were here in 2 minutes, right? But it's fire department and paramedic coming to
is.
rescue.
Every firefighter is going to be either an EMT or a paramedic. So every fire suppression personnel is going to be one or the other. It's just a matter of if you're how qualified, a little bit more, like paramedics can do a little more medication wise, IVs, things like that. So we will go from, if you were to look at our fire engines and our ambulances, you'll see that we have all of our medical gear. We have all of our fire gear. We have all the auto extrication equipment. So, and then the rope bags as well. So we literally could go from the Santa Ana Riverbed on a swiftwater call to the East End for a rope rescue, then to a chest pain, and then do a fire, and then do a heavy rescue all in one day. So we literally have to be able to do everything and be ready for it. So, but yeah, on the medical side of things, it is definitely one of the larger call volumes that we have. And so it's
okay. Another random question, but I've gone on a rabbit hole of questions. But for example, so Orange Police Department posted the video of the DUI that happened at 8 p.m., right? Not late at night. And the car was T-boned. They didn't post a picture of the victim, the car that was hit. They posted it of the guy that was the drunk driver. I'm sorry if this is like a touchy thing to talk about, but I was told by the police department they didn't post the picture of the victim's car because you guys had to come and use the jaws of life to get people out of the car.
We did.
Right?
So we were actually first on scene for that. And
some of the pictures you're not going to see because of HIPAA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't
HIPAA
wanna see
just
those.
ensures
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
everyone's covered and everyone's privacy is respected.
Especially with something like
But on
that.
top of that, here's the thing: when it comes down to it, do you really want to see that gore? Like,
No, I
do
would
you
never wanna
really,
see
like,
any I don't even wanna think about it, but
Mhm.
I just
yeah,
Yeah.
fixate on stuff like
Yeah.
that because I think it could have so easily been me driving down the street with my babies in the car,
Mhm.
you know? And, I I guess to think that the fire department, you guys are out there and having to use the jaws of life, and that's just another thing that you guys are
Mhm.
tasked with having to do on a regular basis. It's not just, oh, here's a fire, here's a,
Mhm.
a heart thing. One of the calls that you guys had gone on and somebody had put a cooking stove on top of the gas meter, right? So
Mhm.
I mean, just the gamut of things that you guys deal with on a regular basis is
It is. I think
blows my
that's
mind.
definitely something that we all probably think of more than most is how that really could happen to anyone. Just because we do see it so often and how it could happen to any of us, any of our family members. So, is wear your seatbelts and be as safe as you can. And, I think both PD and fire should try to do the best they can, kind of putting that information out there so people see what kind of calls you're going on.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, just to kind of keep some of the gore, like Miguel said,
From the public, we don't
the
want to see
public.
it,
I don't
right?
think everybody wants
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
that. So it's definitely
Yeah, it's bad enough people like Katie have to see it on a daily basis, right? You don't want
Yeah.
to share those experiences.
No, definitely
plus
not.
there's a lot of family and friends of the people. And so
Yeah.
just out of respect for them, I don't think some of that needs to go on social media.
Definitely not. And I don't like to post any victims pictures or anything like that. I hate seeing stuff like that. Um, oh, okay, it makes me so sad thinking about that. But okay, let's move on from all this. Okay, so I want to know, so what does it look like if Measure Z, so Measure Z is the 0.5% sales tax on the ballot. It has a 10-year sunset. This is a disclaimer. It has a 10-year sunset, and it comes with a fiscal audit committee because people are concerned about where the money will be spent. I do know the city wanted to have it be a ballot measure that was those funds were directly given to public safety, but in order for that measure to pass, it would have to pass by 66%, and they were worried that it wouldn't pass. The city of Corona just recently dealt with something like that as well. So I want to know, what does it look like? What does it mean for our firefighters if Measure Z doesn't pass?
Man, that's kind of a loaded question here.
It's so
I would-
loaded. Dum
yeah.
I
dum
don't
dum.
I don't think we all can grasp what it would look like if Measure Z were to pass or not to pass. I think we've seen the presentations and the information that has been put out by our council. Um, and my biggest fear as a union president is that we will go back to 2008 and make cuts to departments that you can't cut these departments more. I can't speak on behalf of the Police Officers Association, but I would encourage you to reach out to them and get them on here as well.
They'll be here next
Um,
week, guys.
Perfect.
So, you know.
But for us on the fire department, like I said, we're running 50% more calls with less firefighters and staffing than we did in 2008. So my fear is that we will it's complicated on the employee side of it. What kind of employee wants to work in an organization that's unstable? So we haven't lost any firefighters yet, but my fear is that we will begin to lose firefighters because as of now we're getting paid median. So what happens if we don't keep up with the cost of living or we can't compete with neighboring agencies? I mean, if I was a young firefighter, why not go to Anaheim if they pay more and they're more of a stable city? And yeah, that's my fear, is that we will lose people and it will be hard. It takes a long time to hire a firefighter, to train them, to give them that experience.
How long does that take?
Well, it takes
A career worth of time. You're
Oh
never
my
good at the
gosh.
job. You're always training to be better.
yeah, I mean that's why we
Mhm.
don't stop because we don't want to lose those skills. But um I think as, everybody has their point of view as a citizen or just outside of the fire department, and then you have your point of view as an employee of this city. And um And I think it would be very sad to see the city of Orange, you know, the 0.5% doesn't just support the fire department. And I know that there's a lot of yes on Measure Z with the fire helmet, and we are the face of a lot of it, but it's not going just to public safety. It is going to the entire city, and it is helping support
Yeah.
all of our other fellow employees like community services and public works and everybody. And we just happen to have
Yeah, it's
the
going
means
to the general
to-
fund. The
it
money
is,
is not
yeah.
going to public safety. It's going to the general fund and council. And like you said, whoever is elected to choose where this money would go or where it's going to be allocated, it's going to be on them to do what's fiscally responsible. I became a firefighter because I wanted to help and I wanted to do what was right. Not just for myself, but be about something bigger than yourself, right? So the association has taken a proactive approach to this because we truly believe it's what the city needs. Our name and our reputation is everything, and we wouldn't put our name on something if we didn't think it was the right thing to do.
So for those of you guys, I'm sure you're being inundated with mailers. I'm getting a mailer every other day, full of all kinds of propaganda about the no on Measure Z. So the Orange City firefighters have taken a stance and said, no, we're going to back Measure Z, vote yes on Measure Z. It is what's right for our city. I just actually got a mailer today. So the mailers are being put out. Wilson Automotive has now paid $750,000 into a political action committee to fight the sales tax. Why they're fighting it here in Orange and not in any other city, like we talked about last week, Buena Park has a 1% sales tax measure on the ballot, and there is zero opposition there. They are solely focused in Orange. And I've asked this to so many people, like, why are you doing this specifically in Orange, or why are they doing this? And I can't seem to get a direct answer other than many of the people, Wilson Automotive, their very first dealership is here. And a lot of them live here. And it feels like almost like a personal vendetta. I can't tell you why. And I can't get a straight answer as to why they're paying so much money to fight it here. But the firefighters have decided to combat that with, I went and passed out flyers with you guys. Was that last Saturday? Gosh, that feels like a month ago. 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks
Two
ago?
Saturdays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went and passed out flyers, and just so you know, the city is not paying for those flyers at all. It is the firefighters union that are paying for those. And the firefighters are yes on Measure Z. And so I'm sure you guys don't have a budget of 750,000. Oh, Demetri just said there were 2 new filings this week. And so now they are up to $900,000. So do you guys know, in order to do a mail campaign in the city of Orange to every household, it's like $25,000 to $30,000. So every time you guys are getting a flyer, just think about that. Plus, I'm being inundated with Facebook ads and everything else. So the city cannot take a stance on the tax either way. They can put it on the ballot for the citizens to vote, but they cannot say, whether or not they want it to pass or not. And but you guys can, as an association, as a union, you guys can take a stance and say, we are going to fight for this, and it's important. So I was hitting the streets with firefighters. We walked like 3.5 or 4 miles. This poor firefighter that I was walking with, gosh, that was a long day, and it was very hot. And we were up in Orange Park Acres, and it was a lot of hills. So I'm thinking, this poor guy on his day off, this is what he's out here doing.
We're doing it again Saturday too.
Yeah.
To join.
Is it Saturday or Sunday? The 19th, right?
Saturday.
The 19th.
Okay, if you guys want to pass out flyers with us, we'd love to have you. Send me a DM. I'll be out there passing out flyers again with you guys. I've been running around town, putting up signs for No Measure Z. So I'm sure you guys saw that I made that video and said, hey, if you want a yard sign, let me know. And it's very interesting. So it's super quiet in the comments. You get a few, no on Measure Z. I'm not giving the city any more money. They don't know what they're doing. I want to, set the city on fire. Let us go bankrupt and to hell with it all. Which is weird, but that's what people are saying. And but then in the comments, I had over 40 comments saying, yes, I would love a sign. Yes, I would love a sign. I was out of signs that day. So I drove around, and as I'm driving around, I said, Miguel, I'm going to need more signs, right? The yes people are very quiet, not nearly as loud as the no people, but I will be very interested to see what actually happens.
Yeah, I think, like you said, no, there is other people who have a different perspective and that think that the measure is not a good thing for the city, and that's fine. They should keep their perspective, right? They will see things one way, and we will see things the other day, and we will, at the end of the day, we'll just agree to disagree. I just hope that we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep moving forward. That's what we do as firefighters. And then if this thing passes, good. Then we'll come up with a plan on how we should spend the money, fiscally responsible. And if this doesn't pass, then good. We'll figure it out, you know, and we'll move forward together as a city. I just would hate to see the cutting of resources, especially when it comes to public safety for our residents.
It does, and the sales tax is applied to, and you've done a really good job promoting it, how it's not on groceries and not on anything medically related. And so we're so fortunate to have such a wonderful like downtown, Old Town area. So many people visit the city, and that's a way to capitalize. And I think that if the city itself, there is a Measure Z website, and they explain really well on the things that it will cover, what it won't cover. And so I just urge people to really put some effort into looking into it versus just thinking it's for the firefighters or it's for public safety. It is really for the city as a whole and everybody who lives here and all the employees. And so,
you know what's so funny? I hear all the time is, why does Orange have this, or why don't we do this, or why haven't we had that? And it's because it takes money. And a lot of people, you know, especially at first said, you know, there's nefarious things happening. City council stole the money, or there's been a lot of crazy rumors that have gone around. But after going through the entire budget through 2008, we've never had a balanced budget. So on these mailing flyers, there's, Katey Tubularis that says she's for the tax, as well as Bilodeau, but they're not, and they did not have their permission to use their pictures or quote them on these mailers. You see Mike Alvarez on there, who's a former city council member who, when he was on council, they also didn't have a balanced budget. So there's just, in diving into all this, there's a lot of crazy things that have gone in this town, and it does seem to be the same people over and over again that have made these decisions. So I'm excited to hopefully have some change, have some younger people getting involved in Orange, and like me, fighting for us to have a voice, right? I have a family. My number one concern, and the thing that I get messages about all day long, is this crime happened in my neighborhood. This happened in my neighborhood. How do we get this to stop? Well, you definitely don't get it to stop by defunding public safety. And I have never met a conservative person, which is so interesting. The folks that are fighting this, and no on Measure Z folks, is the Republican Party. And essentially you're voting, or you're fighting to defund police and fire. I've never met a conservative person that would defund that. Okay, my husband's giving me the look. Sorry, said too much. Typical. I can't help myself. Anyway, okay. Let me see. Do you guys have any questions about this? I'm sure this has been such a hot topic. I know you guys have a lot to say about Measure Z. Let me see. I'm boarding now. Why would you put another log onto the dumpster fire? Because I love this dumpster fire that I live in. And I don't want to see it get worse. Like, why can't they just donate the money to the city budget instead? No kidding. $900,000. So when I say Dave Wilson, that started Wilson Automotive, that has 30 car dealerships now, as well as a private yacht company, and owns a $90 million yacht himself. The guy is a billionaire. He's a billionaire. Can we just get 19 million? We're just going to need 19 million to get this through us, Dave Wilson. Can you invest in Orange instead of fighting all of this, right? But no, I don't. $900,000. So I don't know. That's crazy, since they just go straight to the trash can. Yeah, all these mailers, exactly. They're all going straight in the trash. We're killing trees. It's a waste of money. Brandy for president. I'm not available. I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. I love my life. Okay, my husband's cut me off again on that one too. Okay, scroll down to the bottom. Not me for president. Oh no, he knows me too well. He knows I'd too nutso. Anyway, guys, okay, I want to say, let's see, about the fireworks, legalize them. Anyway, any other thoughts that you guys have? I know I just overshared a lot. I'm not sure how much you can comment on everything that I've said about the car dealerships fighting any of this. Can you guys comment on that?
Well, I'll just tell you this. As the fire association, as a union president, we will take the high road. We will not drag anyone through the mud. We will not put blame on anyone else. this is the problem we have in front of us. Now let's just solve it and move on. That's it. There's no reason to look back and say it was this person's fault or this council's fault or this billionaire's fault. It is what it is. Let's just kind of fix the problem and let's make Orange as best as we can. Right?
Yeah.
Let's make sure that the citizens are safe and let's take care of one another.
You know what, to me, that's the kind of sad part. One thing that I love about doing all this is I love when you guys, I get on here and, you're neighbors with each other. And all of a sudden you got Betty commenting to Joe and, hey, Joe, I see you over there watching this. And it really is about the community. And I really do. It hurts my heart that I feel like this has divided our community so much. To see our nation so divided, it just hurts my heart to see this in our city. And I wish that we could all come together and do what's right for Orange and not try to punish each other, right? It's almost like people are trying to punish the things that Orange has done in the past. Clearly, people have lost trust in the city and the management of the money. But I will say that our mayor right now is bringing everything to light. So while people may want to blame him, he's only been in office a year and a half, and he is literally shedding light on everything that's happening and trying to fix it so that we do have accountability. Okay, I'm going to read you guys' comments up here. Scroll up a little bit. Carolyn Kvetchy in the Foothill Century paper, the city council has been passing a balanced budget over the past decade. So technically, the city legally has to pass a balanced budget, but they do that like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So while they don't feel, we had 80 vacancies at the city, so they use the money from the vacancies to put back into the general fund to balance the budget, but we never really had a balanced budget, just like we saw for crossing guards, right? They said, oh, crossing guards cost $420,000. Come to find out, we've only filled 14 to 16 of those positions, and we've only spent roughly $200,000, but we've budgeted $420,000 for it. So what we should have said with the crossing guards is, hey, let's cut that budget line item down, put the $220,000 back into the general fund, and now we have only allotted $200,000 towards the crossing guards. Anyway, it all gets very confusing, and I wish there was an easier way to break this down for you guys. Okay, we've got Doug Redding on here. He's saying David Wilson and Mark Murphy are best buds. Murphy is not very happy about being blamed for the budget deficit. We got another one. Okay, let's see. Demetrius saying, Miguel, explain why so many fire engines respond to medical aid. We hear that all the time. It is so many. Why is that?
Where do you want to start? You want to start with a medical aid or do you want to start with a fire?
He said medical aid.
Medical aid.
Yeah, medical aid.
So we don't have multiple fire engines responding to medical aids. What you do see is you will see one fire engine and one ambulance responding to every medical aid. And that's because we treat everything as if it were going to be, and Katey would have the appropriate verbiage since she's a paramedic, but as the most acute call, right? So we get there and Katey will assess as a paramedic. And then if we all need to follow that patient to the hospital, we do. If we don't, the fire engine goes back to the fire station to provide fire protection, and the ambulance will go and take the patient to the hospital.
And we're fortunate to have our own ambulances, as you know, in the city. So again, you're going to have fire suppression and ambulance operators working on those.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're all running together with people that we know. There's that comfortable factor there. We understand, we know their skill level. So that is definitely one of the benefits. But yeah, you're going to get either a fire engine or a fire truck because we're all going to have paramedics or EMTs on both of them, along with an ambulance that's going to come to your house if you call 911 for a medical aid.
So it's not only a comfort thing with us in the ambulance, right? To have our own ambulance program, you don't have to rely on an outside agency that you reach out to and go, hey, we have an emergency in our area. Do you have an ambulance available? There could be one around the corner, or there could be a 30-minute wait.
Oh, that happens.
And so that is the reason why we have our own ambulance program, right? So our goal is to have, and you were talking about your nephew, which I'm sorry they have that the allergy, but our goal is to have an engine from the time you call to your house in less than 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes is our goal.
Wow.
And it's because of that, because when your throat is closing, and again, Katey will touch on the science of this because I am the captain, not the paramedic, but when your throat is closing, you want it to be 3 minutes. You don't want it to be 5 or 10 minutes to get the nearest fire engine because we had to brown out a fire station, right? So when seconds count, yeah, you want that turnout time to be as low as possible. Now we get there, we assess what's going on, and then we move forward from there.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a customer. This is so sad. A customer up in Burbank, an older gentleman that was working there. He was in his 70s. And the fire department, I guess it was confusing. They sent a fire truck from somewhere further away. Anyway, the guy was laying there for 30 minutes. He eventually passed away.
Yeah.
I know. So it was very sad going in there. But yeah, you're right. Minutes count, especially if you don't want to, if you're choking or something.
Yeah. I mean, seconds count really. And
Yeah.
it's not, if you're looking more critical calls like fires and all those, you're going to see more engines and trucks going to those. But for medical aids, typically you should just see the one engine. So the one engine and the one ambulance, or one engine or truck. And then
We got a Montel on here saying, "Wow, we are so fortunate to have such skilled responders. They saved my brother's life. So cool." And you guys just totally reminded me, what the heck happened with that ambulance that was stolen? What was it? That was the Orange City firefighter we all saw going down the freeway. Are you allowed to talk about that at all?
I mean,
I-
here's the thing. When you're running 19,000 calls a year,
Yeah.
that ambulance sat outside of that hospital for an hour because they were waiting for the patient to get a bed. Unfortunately, they needed to be next to that patient and not inside the ambulance. And the ambulance acquired a new driver, and hopefully, thank goodness that
Somebody
ambulance is fine. I don't think anything happened to it, other than
Why did the guy
making the
pull
news.
over? I heard the
'cause
news.
one of our battalion chiefs got him on called one of the guy's cell phones that was in the car, and he answered it, and he
What?
said, "You can't steal a rig." And he said, "I just had to get out of there." And he said, "Okay, pull over." And he said, "Okay." And he pulled
He
over.
pulled over?
He pulled over. He believe it was Captain Gerard. Or
I don't know if we were allowed to
I
say
don't know if we're
people's
allowed to
names,
say
but
names.
yeah.
Oh. But
What
yeah, he
the
was
heck?
he talked him out of calling over or pulling over.
That's insane.
And he
Okay, we got another comment that's maybe a little controversial on here. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit. Okay, this person's asking about our emergency rooms are overburdened by the homeless population. What measures do first responders do to mitigate the impact?
That's a complicated issue.
That's
I
very
think
complicated. You have to help everyone. What are you going to say?
we are going to help everyone. We're not going to be able to mitigate how full the hospitals are because we're going to help everybody regardless of your status, regardless of your insurance. The
Which is what
hospitals
you
are not
want.
going to turn you away. We're not going to not help somebody ever, regardless of that. So if there's going to continue to have people have medical issues, we're going to continue to help them. I don't know how. I think that might be above our pay grade.
Your pay grade. You're just here to help
when
people.
you figure that answer out,
Yeah.
you're going to be a billionaire because
And talk
it's
to
not a
Newsom.
unique
No.
issue to the city of Orange or to
Yeah.
Orange County. It's a nationwide issue, right? And
I think our city does actually, we have a lot of resources. Other cities are actually coming to us to ask what we're doing. So especially since I know we've now have the Heart Team and we have the Hub, I've seen our homeless population really decrease, especially in my neighborhood. And I don't know if you guys can tell this also, like even just think in the last 2 or 3 years, what do your neighborhoods look like? We're not supposed to say homeless. We're supposed to say unhoused, but and looking at the unhoused around you, like the creek is clean, right? Like, I mean, there are very few homeless people compared to what we have had. That's just what I'm seeing visually. I know in the past, I've heard the police department say we have about 130 unhoused people in Orange, but we have resources for them to, at the Hub, they can take a shower, they can get fed, they will help them with getting clean and sober, any medical resources that they need, and as well as helping to find housing, right? Through either homemade or different programs. For those of you that don't know, Full Circle, the thrift shop right there in the plaza, those funds all go to supporting the Hub. So if you are an unhoused person in Orange and you want to find a job somewhere, you need clothing, you can go to Full Circle and you can shop for free, and 100% of all the proceeds from that store, everyone working in there is a volunteer, and it all goes back to supporting the Hub and all the resources that we have. So it really does literally come full circle in Orange. And I think, you guys can't, you just need to help everyone that you can.
Well, we do. And I think, regardless if it's a homeless person that has an upset stomach to someone actually having a cardiac emergency,
gonna respond to
or
everything.
somebody that's in a home or passing through that's at a restaurant, or somebody that goes to Chapman University, we're going to respond to them regardless, and we're going to give them the same level of care that we provide. And when we get them to the hospital, they triage all the patients. So if it is somebody that is less critical and can sit in a waiting room, then they're going to sit in a waiting room, regardless of their status or their medical insurance. And if it's somebody that needs to go in, whether they're having a stroke or a cardiac emergency or allergic reaction, they're going to go into the emergency room and they're going to be treated. So
fairly, which is what you want. I don't want to show up somewhere and be like, oh, this, Brandy
Mhm.
doesn't look as rich, or like so-and-so over here. Don't know if she has insurance. We'll skip to the next one that's
Mhm.
got the money. No, I would never
Yeah.
want that,
No.
right?
But our hospitals also do a great job
Yeah.
of handling that situation. So I think everyone's doing the best they can to deal with that.
And it's weird times that we're in too. It just seems like very strange times. Okay, another question, a last hot topic that
Mhm.
everyone asks about all the time is headquarters,
Mhm.
Fire Station 1. How much
Yeah.
should we spend on it? Why did we spend so much? Why did we need the Taj Mahal of buildings? I'm just repeating everything you guys say to me all the time.
Well, I'll start back with a little bit of the history.
Mm-hmm.
We've been looking to replace fire headquarters for 20 years now.
Wow.
It's not something new. It's not something that we decided to do yesterday. You have to remember, these buildings, for one, they're not our buildings as the firefighters. They're the public's buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So they belong to the citizens and the residents of Orange, right? And these buildings, remember, they're constantly staffed. So out of fire headquarters, you have a battalion chief, a fire engine, a fire truck, 2 ambulances running 24/7, 365.
Wow.
So we try our best. Like I said, part of our daily maintenance is to maintain these stations. But these stations will show their wear and tear, and they will not last forever, and they will have to be replaced. And fire headquarters, like I said, has been looking to be replaced for 20 years now. And some of the bids that we got 20 years ago are 16 million. I'm sure if you were to get that same bid today, you're looking at upwards of 40 million. I think we got lucky and the timing was perfect because we ended up spending about $24 million on fire headquarters.
And I think with that being said, though, it's not only fire suppression. We have half of that headquarters is fire suppression. The other half is, training captain, admin captain, IT, all of our front staff. We have fire chief, 2 deputy chiefs, the battalion chief. And then upstairs, we have all of our fire prevention as well. Investigator. We don't only house fire suppression employees, the 12 employees that are there 365. There's over 30 people that are working in that building. So it is an office building that has people.
It's a hub,
It is, that people are there all week, all year, but it is more than just the 12 people. So when people think of it as just fire headquarters or fire station 1, there are more people than just the 12 people that work out of that station.
And that's just one station. We have 7 other stations, and all of our buildings, and someone from Public Works was on here that could probably fill us in on more facts, but all the buildings in Orange are starting to show their age.
Oh, they're
and they're
so
going to
old.
have to be rehabbed
Yeah.
and replaced and fixed. And one of the running jokes prior to us moving to the new fire headquarters is our urban search and rescue vehicle, the vehicle that you would need in case of an earthquake to break through concrete, to get through buildings, to rescue people effectively, was at Station 1, which was not seismically appropriate.
Oh.
And so the running joke was, if we had the big one, the one vehicle that we do need is going to be stuck under the rubble.
Yeah, I mean our old headquarters was over 50 years old, 50 years, something like that. And so buildings over time need to be updated as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes it costs more or less to fix them or to start fresh.
My house is that old, and literally the ceiling just fell down and it was filled with asbestos, and it was like a can of worms, and it was very expensive. I think the insurance, it was probably with everything over $100,000 to fix our house.
Yeah, I think
I don't think the city splurged. I think the city did what they had to do, and they needed to replace that fire headquarters, and the timing was right for it.
The issue is, I think because everything else looks junky. I'm sorry, a lot of it looks junky, right?
Mhm.
And it is so old that seeing something that new in comparison, it looks like, wow, look at this Taj Mahal. Because
Yeah.
look at Tustin, right? Everybody is constantly complaining. We got, all these strip malls and it looks funky and why can't we? But then we did build something nice and then people complain about that too. I think if that fire station was in Irvine, nobody would think twice about it.
I think
Um,
over time things are going to be updated and everything is going to look nice. And I think that the city does a great job when they do update those things. So I think eventually we will get to that point. But we also are a historic city, and there is some charm in having some of those historic buildings as well. We loved the location of our old headquarters, and as a fire department, it was great having people walk by the stations and always on their way to the Circle Park and be able to come and say. So we did have to give that up to move a little further away, but yeah, I mean, we're very grateful for it, and it does house a lot of people. And
Let me say, so we got a comment here. They live, work, eat, and sleep in the station. It's so crazy to think that you guys have to do that. Do you want a well-rested and taken care of firefighter to help you when you're in need, or one who isn't? Very good point, Emily. I am Emily. Another one is Orange is not the only city with a shiny new fire department. I've seen new ones replace old ones in Pasadena, San Diego, and all over. Yeah, it's true. And hopefully we hope to have a city, or I hope eventually your city figures out the money and our city looks beautiful and we're able to update everything. I've been in your fire station, and I was just recently at the one over by Schaefer Park. My baby's called the
Mhm.
Spinny Park. We love that park. That one recently updated?
The interiors were,
Yeah.
the kitchens were, the living area.
we had a couple
was.
stations that we updated the interiors, but not the entire
The
building.
exterior?
Our station 2, we actually had to get a new app floor because we moved the truck over there, and the app floor wasn't big enough to house a truck. It was meant for
Oh.
an engine years ago, and so we did move a truck there. So they've done
Even our
small,
engines didn't fit there.
barely fit, yeah. So they've done small things in order to maintain what we have. That's like Miguel's, I think, said multiple times, we adapt and overcome. That's what we do. So it's we'll make it work regardless. But that just happens to be the new shiny thing. And
Yeah.
it'd be great if all of our fire stations and city buildings were that nice. And I think we'll get there one day. But
If anything,
it
as a
does
city,
take
we should
money.
be proud. We should be
Yeah.
proud
That's
of
what I
it.
would think. We would
And
be
we
proud,
should
right?
be happy that we were able to get something like that for the price we did at the time that we could. So
Oh, we got another comment. In addition to the city's public works department, many firefighters will do many repairs in-house. Is that true?
Yeah, so we're
To an
we
extent.
can be handy.
To an extent.
and-
Plumbers, are you guys
and
fixing
these
the
are our
toilets?
homes. Remember, when it's all said and done, at a minimum, you're living there a third of your life.
Wow.
Right? That's at a minimum. That's not including all the time that the firefighters are there in the summer, overtime, whether it's voluntary or forced.
Yeah.
So we're spending either a third to half of our lives in this station. This is our second
Can your
home.
family come visit you
I-
while you're hanging out in there? Probably not. Like,
can,
they
but-
say
They
hi.
can, but honestly, a
Sometimes
lot
it's
of them
an-
don't, because we just get
it's an
calls when they're
inconvenience,
there,
yeah.
and it's an inconvenience. And fortunately and unfortunately, not everybody can live in the city of Orange too. It's like, so people do have to travel, and so it really just kind of
Mhm.
depends. But yeah, I know some actually don't like coming to the station, which seems so cliche to how people love coming to visit fire stations. But when they do come visit, and then we get calls and we have to leave, and then they just
Yeah.
kind of sit around and wait. So
I've come to see Miguel like to deliver something and trying to plan Love Orange Day and all these things. And yeah, you get there, I'm there 3 minutes and he's got to go. And then I wait and then he's got to go. So
yeah.
it's really crazy when people say that, firefighters are sitting around. Sorry, Orange PD. I don't think that's true.
So it's
Well, what did
well, I will not touch that.
Especially with
We'll joke with-
I love our
19,000
we
PD.
joke with them in person,
Not online.
not
Okay,
on
we'll
live
see when
social
they're here
media.
next week. If they're the same.
Mhm.
Okay, so I know a lot of us, we love our firefighters. And before we sign off on all this, we'll see if you guys have any more questions. But I want to know, is there anything as residents, anything that we can do for you? I know you guys have been through a lot lately with the fires and then leaving for the hurricanes. You guys were on nonstop. What is it as a community? How can we support you in times like that?
The city does. The
Yeah,
city does
we
an
do.
awesome job. just a hi, a thank you, a wave is all the firefighters need.
Yeah,
So
we
they
don't.
just want to feel supported. That's it.
Yeah.
We fortunately do love what we do. We've worked very hard to become where we are to be where we are today and to become the position that we're in. And none of us would do this if we didn't love it so much. And so I do truly, when we say just like thank you for the support, that's really all we need, because we're really, when we show up, it's someone's worst day for them to call 911. And if we can do everything we can to help that person, that's all we're doing. And then we get support from the city, and that's about it. There's not much else that we can ask for.
Well, let's see. Somebody on here, Dip 1955, said that what you guys really need is a Dalmatian. Maybe we can all sponsor a Dalmatian support dog for the Orange
Yeah,
City Fire
we
Department.
do have,
We have a
Ember.
peer
Yeah, you
support.
have
We have a peer
Ember.
support dog, Ember. You
And
can look
if-
Ember up on social media.
If anyone would like to sponsor a second, we'll take a second sponsor.
Yeah.
So tell us why you guys have Ember, because I got to meet Ember and I think it's so important to talk about why you have her.
Yeah, Ember's our peer support dog.
Yeah.
You can touch on.
So Ember is a peer support. So I'll touch on just the peer support program in general, because Ember is just one portion of our peer support program. Back in the days, heart attacks were the number one killer of firefighters. That has now transitioned to mental health and suicide. Suicide is the number one killer of firefighters. It's just you go over and run these calls over and over and over again. And it's just so hard to get that stuff out of your head, to learn how to cope with it. And we have, over the last couple of years, and a huge shout out to our Captain Chris Kenny, who has started our peer support program, who saw the need for it. It's a group of firefighters that are just looking out for their firefighters. And Ember is one portion of that. So Ember is part of the peer support team, and she's a tool that we can call on. And I mean, I don't want to start this war online, but who doesn't like a dog, or a cat or an animal like that? And Ember can smell that cortisol, can sense those hormonal changes, and she'll come and allow you to pet her. And yeah, I mean, she
Wow,
brightens up
that's
the
so
day.
cool.
Yeah, she's super sweet.
Mhm.
And she is here for us, but she's here for anybody. So if she does have a handler, so she's not here every day, but she is available if needed. So
Oh, that's so
She's
cool.
a B shifter, which is
She's a
probably
B
either the
shift-
second or third best shift there
that's only
is.
because he's not a B shift, but he used to be. So I did actually notice a comment about the paramedic subscription program. If we
Oh yeah, talk about the paramedic.
Well, I was just going to say,
subscription
someone
program,
asked
definitely.
on there where they could sign up. And so if you just went to orangecityfire.org and it's /paramedic, it'll take you to the paramedic subscription program. And it's $60 annually. And anytime that you need to call 911, essentially, and don't quote me on all of this, but I'm pretty sure I have it accurate. If you need to call 911, anything that is not covered by your insurance, aside from medications, will be covered if you are a member of the subscription program. And that only goes for Orange City Fire, ambulances, trucks, and engines. So if you were to not be in the city and you were to call 911, it wouldn't work the same. It'd only be if you were in the city. But you can sign up as a business as well. It can cover employees. It can cover people that come into your business as well. Businesses are a different cost, but it is for $60 for the year. And
Is that per household or per individual?
household.
Wow, our
So
whole
if
family
you
of
were-
4.
Yeah. So,
That's crazy.
and if you had in-laws or anybody that was here, it's for the address. So yeah, it's actually a really, really great program.
I better make
even
a
if you
video on
use
that
it,
right away.
even if you use it once, it truly does save you money, and it's something that is unique. I know there are other cities that have it, but it is unique to our city, and our EMS manager has really done a lot of work to make that beneficial. So yeah, orangecityfire.org /paramedic, and you can sign up. And if you have any questions, you can always call our headquarters, and they can answer any questions for you.
Okay, before we wrap up here, I saw Councilman Dimitru had one last comment, And he said that he's a little bit up. You guys called, he called you guys to come help with a woman's lawn. Let's see.
Oh,
I will say
A
I put
woman's
out a
lawn.
call for an elderly person in Orange that needed help with maintenance at home. And around 8 firefighters showed up on their day off to help. And Katey was the one working hard too.
but both of us were there. It was
Oh.
someone that was out
Mhm.
of town, unfortunately, for some medical reasons, and
Got a weed abatement.
they were getting a
Yes.
weed abatement, and they weren't
Oh.
able to handle it. And so he called Miguel, and Miguel asked a few of us, and we went over there and cleared it out
Yeah,
for her.
we're just like any neighbor. We're just one of your neighbors, right? We're a helping hand. We not only make emergencies go away, but we also help with everything else. And our firefighters are engaged in the community, right? They're involved with Rotary and Kiwanis and the
Oh, yeah, you
Elks
guys
and
are-
the Legion. And our goal is usually when we see a resident of Orange, it's like Katey said, it's the worst day of their life. And we're in and we're out. We're not there to make small talk. We're there to make your problem go away and to make sure that you are taken care of. But being active outside of that scenario, outside of an emergency scenario, allows us to see what's going on in the city and to get to know each other on a person-to-person basis.
Yeah. Well, awesome, you guys. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I know this has been a long one, guys, but hopefully it was a ton of information. Oh, yeah, but Katey is cooler than Miguel.
For sure. For sure. I bring Katey
Demetrius
on
say
everywhere
that.
I go because she has the personality that I lack so much. Yeah.
I'll keep
Poor Miguel.
He has plenty of personality.
You just hit it. He's very shy. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hopping on here and listening to all this. Hopefully this answered a lot of your questions and will empower you guys, since you've now heard it from the horse's mouth, to be able to answer questions as well when you're hearing people say things, about the firefighters. Hopefully you guys will be able to answer some of those questions and we can spread good news about all the amazing things that they do for us. You are welcome so much for doing this, and everybody's saying thank you guys so much for your service.
Yeah. If you want, thank you. And thank you for your support. Thank every resident of Orange for their support. But if you want, throw my email address out there.
Oh
I'm
my
there
gosh, you want me to do that? Are you
yeah,
sure?
I'm
Yeah.
out there to answer questions, to help out. I mean, it could be the good, bad, the ugly.
Yeah, like
Talk
my
to me in
Instagram
person
page.
instead of,
Yeah.
going in directly. So.
Okay, guys, so you heard that. I will go ahead in the comments and add Miguel's email. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. He's very accessible and he is a wealth of knowledge and painfully honest. So that's exciting in this day and age. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Miguel and
thank you.
Katey.
Bye.